Hello, I am up here in New Hampshire. I have been helping out with a girls' camp kitchen the past couple of days and have a little bit of free time. So I figured while I was in this beautiful wooded area, I should go ahead and do a little sit and knit. So I'm walking over to get my supplies, find a fun little corner, probably down near the lake, and yeah, we'll just sit and knit for a little bit. Here we are approaching the lake. This is actually one of my favorite places in camp. Just check this out. It is just so beautiful. And with those clouds today, this little archway, it's lovely at sunrise and at sunset. Maybe I'll snag a picture or a little video tonight. But yeah, just gonna find a little spot to sit right down here. Here we are by the lake. You can see it a little bit over here. Just hanging out in the amphitheater area. Had a little bit of free time. This is what I do with my free time. Knit. So this is also one of the challenges sometimes about traveling or being not at home and knitting. So let me just kind of give you an overview of some of the things that are going on right now, and then we'll do a little knitting, hopefully. It wouldn't be a sit and knit if we don't do a little knitting, right? So I recently did a book review video, and one of the things I really want to do is this headband pattern. So I have my little swatch here. This is actually the third swatch I did. I did the first one with different yarn. I did the second one with this yarn but bigger needles, the same needles that the pattern called for. And then I did this one with a size smaller. So I feel like, I mean, it's wider than this like rolled bandana, but I kind of like that. I think this is a good size. So this is kind of the project I intended to do while I was up here, and I did do this swatch, but I want to think about it a little bit more and decide what I want to do. But this may be what I end up working on even today. We'll see. And also I can work on it and then just end up taking some out if that's what I decide to do. But so that is one project, and actually I think in my bag I have the other piece. Let's take a look. So I have my trusty knitting bag with a bunch of stuff in it, and I think down in here, yes, the first swatch that I made. So this one is definitely wider. You can see that there. And that looks like at least a ½ an inch wider. If I hold this one up, yeah, that just seems a little bit too big. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna use the smaller needles. So these here, size 3 needles, are what I knit this with, and that is the size that the pattern said to use. I don't actually know what size yarn they had. I didn't look it up. I don't have the exact yarn they used, and it didn't have the weight of the yarn. It just said the specific brand. But I tend to just knit with yarn that I have unless I don't have enough of it or I'm doing a particular project. So I like this color. It even matches my shirt. I did ask my roommates. I have this blue as well, or this one that I did knit it from. And I like both of them. I do wear a lot of bright colors though, so their comment was that a more neutral I'd be able to wear it with more things, which is true. And nothing says I can't make more than one of them. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with the size 2 needles and this yarn to make that project. But I think there was just a fish jumping in the lake. before I jump into the knitting, we'll do some of the chatting part. I just show you kind of what happens when I go on a trip if I don't have like a specific project that was already underway. So I've been doing a lot of designing of washcloths, so I have some cotton yarn with me that I may use for this project. I have my rough draft sneak peek of my August washcloth here, which I actually did some redesigning of. I don't know how well it translates here. Maybe this side shows it a little bit better. It's kind of hard to see, but I had a straight line up the middle here, which is kind of the point. You can't really see it. So I redesigned it. Additional sneak peek. Here is the finished in yellow. And I do like it better. So I brought these to kind of think about, compare, etc. And I have some more yellow yarn, a project I have been working on, and I think it still needs a little more. This is a rough draft that I'm going to crumple up and make some additional edits on. So I may also work on that, but I'm feeling more in just a knit mode, so that's what I'll do. Yeah, that is what I did. I just been thinking about this. I want to work on that, and that's what I brought with me. So I'm not gonna bind this off the swatch that I did, but I'm also not gonna pull it out, at least not right now. I'm just gonna take the needles off and I'm gonna use them. So I do like that, the way that one worked out. And this is another thing, actually there's a number of things in the book, Knitting 24/7, that I did the review of, so you do them like 2 halves and then put them together, which I think is really interesting, but I don't know if I want to. I guess that's the other reason. Maybe I won't work on this. I'm just trying to decide if I want to do a provisional cast on so that I can connect them. I guess I should also read the instructions and see if the seam ends up in the middle, or if where you like pick up the stitches is over on the side. But I think it might be in the middle, and I think it might look kind of funny. So I think I'd rather be able to do a Kitchener stitch. So, and I suppose the worst case, if I do a provisional cast on right now and don't like it, is that I bind it off and then treat it as if I had just cast on normally. So maybe that's what I will do. Okay, in which case I do actually need an additional contrast color. So good thing I have this blue yarn here. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and cast this on. Start with my slip knot. I did this new kind of provisional cast on that I really liked, so I'm just going to try it again, see how it goes. All an experiment. Sorry, I feel like the lighting it's so bright. Okay, so let's see if I remember this. I might not. I'm gonna look up this tutorial. I'll be right back. Okay, watch a little video. Let's try this again. Still not, I don't know about this. Nope, something's wrong. So I have usually done this, so maybe I should try doing it with just one. No, that's not right. Usually done a provisional cast on using a crochet hook. I have to look that one up every time too, but the last time I found a way to do this provisional cast on that doesn't use a crochet hook, just uses your waste yarn, and I like that approach a lot, because then even if you don't have you know, a crochet hook with you, you can still do it. Or I mean, I definitely know not all knitters like using a crochet hook, so it's nice to have options for ways to do things. So okay, and actually it's, for those of you who are familiar, this particular cast on, the provisional cast on just using waste yarn, is pretty similar to, it might be the same as an Italian cast on. I'd have to look into that a little bit more, but so if you're already familiar with that method, then this, once I can actually do it, is not a bad option. So maybe I should just make a how-to video so that I have to figure out how to do it, and then it can be available for you. So, all right, one more time, let's try this. Okay, now I have a couple stitches on here, and I remember how to do it. Hopefully I'll remember how to do it after having just done it again. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so swoop and grab that, underneath both and grab that. Yeah, okay, underneath both and grab that. It actually kind of reminds me of Kitchener a little bit too. Swoop and grab, under both and grab. Where, so the video I just watched, which I'll link down below, but she had a little phrase that she said. So basically, swoop and grab underneath both, twist your fingers back and grab. And sometimes those little like mantras really do help. They make a big difference for being able to remember how to do something. And also just practice. I know I talk a lot about, this actually just came up in one of my lessons, how you don't cast on very often. You just do it at the beginning of a project, then you do your whole project, and then you're ready to start again. And very often people forget how to cast on in the meantime. That's normal. That's fine. When you don't do something for a while, you just have to give yourself a little refresher. And then once you start doing it, then usually your body and your mind will start remembering it again. And even if you don't, like just having done that an additional time, then the next time it will be easier for you to remember. So, okay, let's go ahead and count. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. That's interesting because that one will not actually, okay, well, count again. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 23. Okay, so let's go ahead, turn that. And the other thing I'm going to do is actually, whoa, that doesn't seem quite right. There we go. Just like with knitting in the round, it appears. So I don't know, you can see there like the blue that's incorporated in with this pink cream color. So I got some of it turned, so like you see right here, you can't see any blue again, and then the blue like curves around. This is like when knitting in the round, where you have to be careful not to have twisted your stitches. Didn't know that till just now, but apparently, I mean, it's good anytime you have cast on, especially when in the round, and apparently also with this waste yarn provisional cast on. Just making sure that the loops that you're going to knit in are all facing up, that none of your cast on bumps or this waste yarn have been twisted up. you want it only to be the cast on loop that you're going to use to knit. That's at the top. Okay. So I'll go ahead and just adjust so that my working yarn is not going to get tangled up in the blue. I always like to just kind of take an extra moment to make sure that's all set up. Oh, this breeze feels so delightful. And oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'm going to just use my swatch as my pattern. I don't have the actual pattern physically with me right now. I don't have the book up here, and I do have a picture of it, but it's on my phone, which I'm using to do this recording, so not that helpful. But I have the swatch. And also this book, one of the things that Veronique Avery talked about in her book was that she was really trying to make patterns that were easy to memorize. And having done this swatch 3 times, I feel like I do have it memorized, which I suppose is only partially true because I am looking at it here. But what I remember that I just need to how it builds on itself. So there's just, I think, there's 4 rows that you're doing over and over again for this part of the headband. And I remember 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sorry, sometimes knitting and talking can be a bit of a challenge. So let me just make sure I have the other side. 2, 1, 3. Okay. Wait a second. That does not work. I needed it to be 6, not 8 here. But the pattern, well, I think her exact words were, once the pattern is established, it doesn't take long to memorize the repeats, etc. So I think that's the case here. Once I get this first row or 2 done and have it moving forward, then I should be able to just keep going without needing to have the pattern in front of me until I hit the number of stitches that, or like the height that I want for half of the headband in this case. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and undo this slip knot that I'd made with my waste yarn, and I'll knit back across. This has been it has not been that hot here, which I've been very grateful for, but there have been so many bugs. And mosquitoes just love me. So that's a bummer. Got quite a few bites. It's still worth it. I am definitely still glad I came up to camp. It's so nice to hear that water lapping in the background. I'll be quiet for a minute, see if you can hear it. I don't know what it is about water, but I have loved it my whole life. Even when I was a baby, my parents would use it. They would run water to help soothe me. Maybe that's part of why I love it. I love going on hikes and coming across a little burbling brook, or to be by the beach and hear the lapping of the water. Love it. This is funny. So I'm using the same needles that I did for my swatch, but when I hold it up, it is significantly wider. I do know that there's actually, in this next row I'm about to do, there is part of the stitch that may bring some of this closer together, but I don't know. I might have just cast on more loosely than I did for the swatch. And maybe I'll still want to go down even one more needle size. I do like that kind of thing about like doing this project. I am making this headband for myself. Oops. Wait a second. I did something wrong. Got talking. Do I have the wrong number? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23. No, I have the right number. Okay, let me do a little comparing here. See what I can figure out. I guess maybe this is something that I should keep in mind. It might not be ideal to do a sit and knit and start a new project at the same time. Which, you know, I actually do know this. This is like when you go to a knitting group, you definitely should take a pattern that you're already familiar with, or that's pretty simple, that's just doing, you know, garter or stockinette or something where you're in a section where you're not going to have to do a lot of concentrating if you're going to be wanting to talk and catch up with the people that you're with, etc. Because something always goes awry if you're trying to do something complicated and chat or whatever at the same time. So, lesson learned. Just go back another row. So, just going backwards. How do you hold yarn when you go backwards? I often just kind of, well, I guess I curve my pointer around it and then use my thumb and then pretty regularly just let go and readjust that. So I clamp down and just use my thumb to kind of guide and pull the yarn off and through. And then when there's too much yarn to kind of manage, let go, readjust. But I often find myself like reaching to wrap the yarn around my hands like I'm going to knit. And then I can't go as many stitches before having to readjust when I do that. So I'm trying to break that habit. Although I guess I don't really want to break the habit of picking yarn up in a way that works for knitting, so maybe I just shouldn't worry about that. Okay. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 23. All right, let's just see. 2, 1, 3. Yeah, there's 3 right there. 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 2, 3, 2. Yeah, something is not computing. 2, 1, 3, 2, 6, 2. Here's the other solution. Let's count. Maybe I just cast on the wrong number of stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. There's the problem. I cast on 23 stitches. This only has 22. So, we are just going to start again. I find that, what about you? How far into a project do you have to be before you decide it's not better to just start over? I feel like casting on, I mean, it was a little bit past casting on there, but casting on, I often do it multiple times. Especially if I'm doing, like today, where I'm doing a technique I haven't done recently or not very often, so I'm just not that familiar with it. And I also find myself, I don't really love having a super long tail. I would rather have too much than too little, for sure. But if I think that I'm running pretty low on yarn, I'll cast on 3-4 times if I needed to, in order to know that I'm not going to run out, or be less likely to run out of yarn at the end, rather than just leave a really long tail. I should ask some more people about that, like you. What is it that you do if you have cast on and you have too many stitches, not too many stitches, a really long tail? What do you do? Okay, let's give this a try again. Waste yarn, go back. I guess it's closer to you, but over the pointer, correct working yarn. There, okay. Under both grab. So here's that example. Having done this, just 20 minutes ago, I am remembering very easily what it is that I am supposed to do. My fingers remember. I can just pretty easily swoop down under both grab. Swoop down under both grab. Yeah, I do really like this approach. And I really do want to make a little video about it because I think it's very useful, and teaching something, having to be able to explain it to somebody else really helps things stick in my head. So that, honestly, even if I'm not teaching somebody, I often just like talk through something out loud, which is part of why these videos, I like them, because it helps me to kind of work through and figure out how things are going and whatever. So, okay, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Okay, count one more time. I only need 22, not 23. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 22. Okay. One more time. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Okay. Partially because I had done it wrong the last time, and also because this yarn is just, it's pretty fuzzy. You can see, like, maybe. Yeah, there we go. All that fuzz. So some fuzzier yarn can be harder to count because it's harder to tell what is just part of that stitch and what is a new stitch. Okay, let's try this again. Knit. I didn't actually show it, but I did again just confirm that all the blue waste yarn was at the bottom. Okay, so 6. Okay, so I'm not going to undo the slip knot this time. I'm just going to leave it in case I need to do this again. But I will slide it off the needle so that I'm not confused by it when I get down there. Also, when I was doing the swatch, this actually has a little garter edge on both sides, which is nice. It'll keep the headband from rolling up, etc. But when I was doing the swatch, I forgot about that part and did not incorporate that into the beginning of my swatch. So I'm glad that the swatch was not actually the project. I realized it after I was I don't know, maybe 6 rows in, but decided that because it was the swatch, I would get a good enough feel for how the 2, 4, 6, how the pattern was lining up without having to redo it. And can keep it in mind. That's like one of the benefits of making mistakes. They are such a good way to teach you. Once you've made the mistake, you don't want to make it again. And so, at least this is how it works for me. So then I'm more aware of it and less likely to do that thing in the future. So of course, there's just some other mistake to make, which is fine. That's just how it goes. But yeah, I think I'll be less likely to forget to do the garter edge as I'm doing this headband because of what I did with the swatch. Oh yes, here I am, the 3rd row, which is the one that's the most different than the other rows. And I think I'll have time to do the 4th row before I have to go back to kitchen duty. I feel like this is so often what happens. Like sometimes we anticipate that we'll be able to make a lot of progress on something, or we think we know how long something will take, and it takes longer. It just takes longer, or we have to go back or decide to go back. Most of the time you can, if you wanted to, just incorporate whatever happened into your project. But if you decide to go back and make the match or follow the pattern more precisely, we can end up back in the same place we started at the end of, making a video or an afternoon that you had time to spend on it. And it can be tempting to feel like that was failure. But, when I go back and watch this, I'll see. But what I meant to say earlier, and maybe already did, but I love working on projects like this because there's no big rush. I don't need this headband tomorrow. I didn't promise it to myself. It's not a gift with a deadline. So I don't need to stress so much about getting any particular amount done in any particular time. It's just, I like having projects like this where I can work on it in my own time. I can make a lot of progress on it if I have the time, and if not, then, or if something else comes up, if I was to take on a commissioned project, or I had something I wanted to make for Christmas or someone's birthday or something, a birthday present, then I can put this aside, I can work on something else, and then I can come back to it. So what about you? Are you a one project at a time or a project to fit your mood. So multiple projects, mood or portability or whatever, which is a benefit of this particular project. It does make it more portable to have something like a headband than, say, a sweater. Also, I don't really want to be working on a sweater when it's hot. I mean, the breeze is nice, but this is not sweater in your lap kind of knitting weather. So let's see, 2, 4, 5, 6, and look at that. I just kept talking and I snuck in one more row, also very appropriate. Knitting 24/7. She, in each section of her book, has places or ways to sneak in more knitting. So I did that by just talking a little bit longer while I was doing this. And yeah, let's see. Let's compare again. Swatch this current one. It is wider, and yarn tends to grow when you work on it, so I feel like there's a chance this one's gonna end up just as wide as this. Yep, looks pretty similar. Well, I'll go ahead and knit a few more rows and make a decision at that point, but that's all I got time for today. I hope you enjoyed something that was said, or that maybe you used this as a chance to sneak in a few extra rows on your project so we can work on things together, which I love doing. All right, till next time, happy knitting, and I hope you are enjoying a lovely afternoon like at this beautiful lake. Love it.